Hello, welcome. I am Julie Hatch. I am creator of Moms on a Mission, consciously connecting with our kids. And welcome. I'm so glad that you're here, that you have signed on to get these four videos that I'm doing, basically around children's behavior. I'm guessing that that's why you're here, because you want to do something about your kids' behavior. And we all have been through it. Kids' behavior has been a challenge at one time or another through most every mother's life. So join the club if you're having issues with your kids. You're not alone, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to start off today talking about, for one thing, why it's important to even talk about behavior and what I have to say and what I have to teach. I have a program called Powerful Parenting, Positive Behavior, and that's what it addresses, is how to get positive behavior from your child through your parenting. So the first reason why it's important is because right now something isn't working. You've got some kind of problematic behavior in your child and is causing conflict at home or stress and frustration or angst at home, and you're really not quite sure what to do with it, or you've been trying various things about what to do with it, and it's not working. Nothing is changing. You keep doing the same thing, perhaps, or you try different things, but whatever it is, the behavior continues and nothing is changing, and the stress and the frustration continues and perhaps even grows. So that doesn't feel good, right? You don't feel very good as a mom. Your kid doesn't feel very good as a misbehaving child or doing whatever he or she is doing. So we want to get you to a place where you can get rid of that stress over the behavior and get to a calmer place in parenting, and where you can enjoy yourself as a mom and enjoy yourself as a parent and enjoy your child. So, and we can do this through addressing behavior in certain ways. We can get you to a place of feeling a little bit better about life and changing the behavior, getting rid of the behavior, or whatever it is that you want to do with it. The second reason that is important is because beyond behavior, you are raising a child, you're raising a little person, and everything that you do when they're young has a big influence in their behavior, not only now, but in their behavior in years to come. Behavior as they go to school, get into high school, teenage years, behavior then, that's a game changer right there. But if you address it and you implement certain things now, then throughout the rest of their life, their behavior can be less of an issue, or at least then you know what to do about it, how to address it, and how to fix it. Because when kids are little, your role as a parent is hugely important, because kids soak up everything. They're really aware of everything that's going on around them, what you're saying, what you're doing, how you are behaving, the emotions that you have, the energy that you emit. They pick up on all of that, and it affects them. It has a huge influence on how they learn to behave and how to act in the world. So words and actions and emotions and energy does have a huge influence on a kid. They internalize it. When they feel something good or bad, they internalize it, and it becomes part of them, and it becomes part of how they are as a person, and which means how they behave. So, for instance, if a young child is surrounded with a lot of anger and fighting and conflict, the child absorbs that and says, wow, that's what life is. Life is anger and conflict and arguing, and that's what they internalize, which is not, we sort of try to want to avoid that, because then that's what they know how to do. You are their reference point. They have no other reference point about how to behave, how to be, how to deal with conflict, how to deal with problems that come up, and you are the reference point. The parents are the most important people in the fundamentals of what a child feels inside and how they then subsequently behave. If you're a really, really anxious mom and there's anxiety everywhere, and you transfer this anxiety into your child, which is inevitable when your child is around you all the time, then the child internalizes that anxiety, and that's what forms their way of being in the world. So, on the other hand, if you are using words of acceptance and love and positivity, um, and and hugs and holding them and giving them the security that they need, and you emit positive emotions and positive energy, then that's what they pick up, that's what they internalize, and that's what makes an awesome kid who then later will be easier to deal with behavior or anything that comes along in life. And it helps them to grow up into healthy, strong older children and healthy, strong adults. Because our job as parents is to really, the biggest job as a parent is to raise a child to be able to live independent from us and live in a way that feels good to them, that they feel confident, that they're happy with the choices that they make, that they're happy with themselves. That is really the ultimate goal. And so, what you do when they're young um, makes a big difference in this. So the good vibes and the unconditional love and the approval and letting them know that they're okay, that they're good people is crucial. And the negativity is something that you want to try to avoid whenever possible. So um, behavior. Behavior comes from um, two different sources. The first is that every child is born with their own unique, their personality, their temperament. They just come out the way that they are. And that is derived from their inner spirit, their true nature inside of them, their essence. It's what makes them who they are, and therefore brings out why they behave the way they do, why the way they act the way they do. It's their inner essence, and it's a beautiful thing. There are so many great things you can do with this, working with this inner essence, and I get into that a lot more in my program about what to do, or how to identify the true nature, and how to bring out the best in a child through that true nature, because they're beautiful beings inside, in spite of what you might be seeing now externally with the behavior. The second way that behavior comes about is that behavior is essentially a response or a reaction to something going on outside of them, out in the outside world that's acting on them. For instance, think about yourself when you get triggered by something, when you get angry about something, when, for whatever reason, traffic, or being stuck in traffic, or your boss, or a fight with somebody. It's a trigger, and it makes you feel yucky, and it makes you feel angry, and you might start yelling, or you might start being all frustrated. So that those triggers set off these reactions of yours. So in kids, it's kind of the same thing. There's a stressor that acts on them, and they can't process where it's coming from, why it's doing what it is, why it's making them feel the way it is. But when a child feels a stressor, that stressor brings on feelings of fear and insecurity, two fundamental, really strong emotions. And when they have these emotions, they don't know what to do with them. They don't know why they're there, where they're coming from, and it makes them feel yucky. They don't like that feeling, and the only way that they know how to deal with it is to behave, to act out in some kind of behavior. Because behavior doesn't happen in a void, it happens from something external to the child. Kids are not born with an inherent desire or knowledge of how to misbehave. It doesn't feel good to them. They don't like it. They don't really consciously choose to do it. It's just a reaction to something going on. So what you want to do is address the stressor. And a stressor can be absolutely anything that may not make any sense to you. You may not know what is connected to the behavior. It could be something like a child who doesn't like being left alone, doesn't like separating from mom at daycare or school or whatever, or doesn't like being separated from the family. And when that happens, that can cause these feelings of fear and insecurity, and they may act out. And it may not be logical. It may not make sense that the way that they act is connected to that particular stressor, but it is. A child who is being yelled at a lot, or and they don't understand why, that being yelled at creates bad feelings of fear and insecurity. They don't like being yelled at, and it makes them feel pretty bad, and so they act out. Another example is a child who's being told, for instance, in school, they might be being told to do something, and they may not understand the instructions, or they may not understand how to do what they're supposed to do, or they don't know if they even can do what they can do. And so they will act out. They're like, internally, they're not processing this logically, but in fact, if they don't know what to do or how to do it or understand what the instructions are, they will act out, because it just feels bad that they don't understand it, they can't process it, and they get frustrated. It causes anxiety, and it causes some kind of behavior. And again, it's not always logical. What was a stressor for one child and cause some kind of behavior may not affect you. You may not understand it, or another child may not react that same way or be bothered by a particular stressor. It's individual to the child. So the point is that what you want to do is really pay attention to your child. And when behavior comes out, when something goes awry and your child is behaving a way that you don't like, or you don't understand, try to pay attention to what preceded that behavior, what it is that could possibly have triggered them to behave the way that they're behaving. And again, it may not be logical, it may not make sense to you, but if you can figure out what the stressor is, that is where the behavior is coming from. And in the long run, we want to address the stressor and change the environment, or do whatever it takes to get rid of that stressor. And if you get rid of the stressor, then the behavior will go away. It'll change or go away, or it won't be as much of an issue. So it is not easy to do, to figure out what the stressors are. But it really does make sense that the child is not innately misbehaving. They are reacting to something that makes them feel yucky. The only way they can deal with those yucky emotions is to act out. So pay attention to your child. See if you can figure out what the stressors are, and see if you change the stressors or the environment, if then the behavior goes away. So, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.